Greetings, sir. Today we are going to present the topic Role and Responsibilities of the IMF. So it is presented by me, Adab Das, Anish Kumar Barik, and Anvesha Roy. So first, the introduction to the IMF. Uh, IMF was founded in the year 1944. It formulates its primary goal by developing international monetary cooperation, promoting global financial stability, expanding international trade, raising standards of living, and achieving lasting improvements in the economic and social conditions of the people all over the world. So it it was established in the year 1945 and is headquartered in Washington D.C., USA. So by 2024, the IMF comprises 190 member countries, nearly every country in the world. Membership with the IMF is open to any country that follows foreign policy and accepts the rules of the organization governing the organization. All member countries contribute financially to a pool of resources within the IMF can draw upon to help countries facing balance of payment crisis. Now, basically, like what is IMF? So, IMF is basically a financial intermediary that provides short term financial support coupled with technical economic advice to countries affected by economic crisis or imbalances. In essence, it acts like a worldwide lender of last resort, granting loans to economically distressed countries suffering from severe balance of payment problems. These loans usually entail strict conditions or reforms to set up mechanisms for recovery and its debt payoff. Now let's talk about the roles and responsibilities of IMF. Firstly, surveillance and monitoring. So the IMF is constantly monitoring the world's economies and the economy of every member country with an aim of analyzing trends in the economy and possible threats. This it does by conducting annual reviews with its member countries to discuss policies, pointing out flaws, and flagging possible dangers that may harm the economy. Financial support. In essence, the central goal of the IMF is to provide financial support for the short-term of payments for problem for countries. It grants financial support under a program or facility that could be short-term standby arrangements, which is SBA, and the Extended Fund Facility EFF, which comes with conditions provided by the attainment of macroeconomic stability. Then, capacity development. The Institute offers technical cooperation and training to its member states in issues like fiscal policy and monetary policy, exchange rates, financial regulation, and economic statistics. This always helps countries to build stronger institutions and improve their policy making ability. Now, the stability in the global monetary system. So, the IMF assists in promoting stability in the global monetary system, which is the exchange rate and international system that allows countries to trade with each other. Stability is one of those precursors that help present crisis in the global monetary system and ultimately foster an environment supporting global economic growth. Then, promotion of international cooperation. The IMF establishes a multilateral framework under which it functions in collaboration with its member countries. It provides an avenue for discussion on crucial issues about the world's economic among its member collective response to global economic challenges and policymaker coordination when facing global crises. Now about the organization and management of IMF. The IMF is owned by its member countries and has the power to decide staff distributed according to the financial contributions and quotas that each member country makes. Quotas thus determine financial commitment to the IMF by a country, its voting power, and its access to IMF resources. The organization is managed by the executive board with day-to-day operation led by managing director. Currently, it's Kristina Georgieva as of 2024. Then about the importance of the IMF. So the IMF is one of the chief organizations to maintain stability in the world's financial system as well as develop economies of its member countries. So the purpose of the IMF can also be understood through different roles they play, like global financial stability. The IMF keeps track of the international monetary system and assists the member countries to maintain exchange rate stability and balance of payment. Through surveillance and monitoring, the fund detects risks and advises on policies preventing disruptions in global trade and financial crisis. Then the financial support. The most important function of the IMF are financial support to countries in need. In case a member country is suffering from a BOP crisis or debt burden, then the IMF renders monetary and technical support for stabilizing the economy of that member country. For example, BOP statistics depict current capital and financial account transactions. Therefore, the IMF also assists member countries in managing deficits and external debts. Then, about the technical assistance and capacity building. The International Monetary Fund advises on the best ways of managing economic activities in its member countries. The kind of advice and training aim at the strengthening financial institutions, developing sound fiscal policies, and enhancing global economic governance with a chance to better avoid crisis and ensure long-term growth. Then, lastly, policy advice and economic research. The IMF bases its advice on such policies as exchange rates, fiscal management, inflation control, and structural reforms on the basis of quite comprehensive research done and periodic consultation and with the member countries. It works in balance of payment accounts and international investment positions feeds into it. Thank you.
Starting with the definition of the data variables, uh, first is balance of payments components. Uh, the BOP is a record of all economic transactions between the residents of a country and the rest of the world. Its components include current account balance, which is a key indicator in a country's balance of payments, reflecting the difference between the value of goods and services in a country it exports and the value of goods and the services it imports. Under this, we have the trade in goods, which is the balance between the exports and imports of physical goods, for example, machinery, cars, and electronics. Trade in services includes the transactions in services such as banking, tourism, insurance. Then, primary income is the income earned from foreign investments or from wages earned abroad. Secondary income is the transfer of money that don't involve a purchase, such as foreign aid and donations. The capital account balance refers to a component of a country's balance of payments which records all the transactions related to capital transfers and the acquisition or disposal of non-produced non-financial assets. It includes capital transfers, that is, the transfer of ownership of fixed assets, debt forgiveness, and non-financial assets. Non-produced non-financial assets includes the items like natural resource rights, contracts, leases. After this, we have the financial account balance. The financial account balance is a component of a country's balance of payments that records all the financial transactions involving international investment flows. Under this, we have direct investment, which involves the investments made by individuals or businesses in physical assets like real estate, factories, or enterprises in a foreign country. The portfolio investment refers to investments where the investor purchases financial assets such as stocks, bonds, or other securities in a foreign market, but without the intention of gaining control over the company or asset. Moving on to international investment position, the net IIP, it measures a country's overall financial position relative to the rest of the world by subtracting its foreign liabilities from its foreign assets. If the IIP is positive, the country is a net lender to the world. If negative, it is a net borrower. It includes IIP assets. These are the financial assets that the residents of the country own abroad. Then we have liabilities, which are the financial obligations that residents of a country owe to foreigners. Goods balance refers to the trade in physical goods, also called merchandise trade. Then net errors and omissions, NEO. Uh, it is a balancing item in a country's balance of payments used to account for discrepancies that arise from unrecorded or misrecorded transactions. It is of two types, positive and negative. Primary and secondary income. Primary is the income earned from foreign investments or wages abroad. Secondary income are the transfers such as remittances and foreign aid that do not involve a direct exchange of goods or services. And this is the data for the current account balance and the associated trend line for it, ranging from 2015 to 2022, as you can see. Then we have the data for financial account balance and its respective trend line. Lastly, we have uh, the combination of both the current account balance and the financial account balance and the respective trend line for it.
Now, starting with the calculative part of our presentation, we start with the prediction and forecasting. हमने पहले ट्रेंड लाइंस देखी, अभी हम फ्यूचर या प्रेडिक्शन करने की कोशिश करेंगे. So we do that by using the least square method. In the least square method, there are two types of variables. Okay, first is an independent variable, and the other one is a dependent variable. Independent variable is generally the time or like something that does not depend on other values. Well, the dependent variables is, for example, percent, price, inflation rate, or things that might change with respect to time. So they are called the dependent variables. So dependent variables are generally taken as the y-axis and the independent variable is taken as the x-axis. So in the least square method, we try to fit a linear equation in that closely fits all the points that the data table projects on the plane. And by using the values that we have on the linear equation, we can find the value that we need or the predicted value. So in the least square method, we will get a linear equation which is of the form y equal to a plus bx, where a and b are the constants and coefficients of regression, and we can find them by equations, which are these two equations. That is the summation of y equals na plus b summation of x, where n is the number of entries that we are calculating, a and b are the regression constants and coefficients, summation of y is the sum of all the independent entries in the table, and sum of x is sum of all the values of corresponding x's. And the other equation is summation of xy gives a summation of x plus b summation of x square, where everything is the same. Xy is the sum of the corresponding products of x and y on the table, and x square is the sum of x square is the sum of all squared variables of x. So using these two equations, we can find two linear equations with two variables, and we can solve them to find the values of a and b individually, and we can use a and b values to predict the value. Now, for example, look at this table which depicts the balance of payments of India, and we are taking a percent by GDP as an indicator or an factor. And when we put that table, this table, when we sorry, when we expand this table with by the least square method, we get this table. You can see years, that is from 2011 to 2022, and the balance of payment percent by GDP, everything has been stated from the table itself. And we are taking balance of payment as Y. So, and we are taking the median value 2017 as 0 for X value. So it's easier for calculation, but we can take any value we want, but we have to make them equally spaced. Okay. And we are trying to predict the value for 2023, 24, and 25 based on these values. So we got the value of X, like for example, we got 2017 as 0. So 2018 will be 1, 2019 will be 2, and so on. Similarly, X square we can find from that, and xy we can just multiply corresponding x and y. For example, minus 6 and 24.32 gives minus 145.95, and we can fill the entire table. Then we find the values like summation of y, summation of x, summation of xy, and summation of xy. And after we find the values, all the four values, we can put them in the equation, and we found these two equations, the point 1 and point 2 equations. After solving, we can find the value of a and b, and that is how we get the regression equation. Now the equation becomes y equals something minus something x, and we wanted the values of 2023, 24, and 25. So since 2017 was 0, 2018 was 1, वैसे एक एक आगे आगे करके जाएंगे. So 2023 will become 6, 2024 will become 7, and 2025 6 7 will become 8 9 10, and so on. And we can find the value of y, that is balance of payments. That is how we predict the values for the next years based on the data tables program. And the inference we get based on this prediction is that the GDP that contributes to the BOP, that will be annually decreasing for year. Now there is another table that we'll be looking at, and from this table we'll be trying to predict the values for the money market rate and the lending rate that India provides with the international finances. So the money market rate table is as follows. It's completed. You can see the values of x, y, x square, and xy filled in the table. And by the same method, we can find two equations and get the values of a and b respectively, and we can put that in an equation to find the linear regression equation. And we can put like we took 2020 as 0, so by that way 2025 would be 5, so x is 5 for 2025, and that way got the value of y, that is the money market rate that India will provide at the international market by the year 2025. And the inference we draw is that it would decrease. It would decrease in a linear fashion from 3.84 in 2022 to 1.45 in 2025. That is how we predict. Now, again, we are trying to predict the lending interest rate. So it is the rate at which India lends money at the international market. The table has again been filled up. The values of x, y, x square, and xy have been filled up. The summations of them have been respectively found out. And by taking two equations, we can find the value of a and b respectively and put that in the equation. That forecastic equation is as shown there. And since we took 2020 as 0 again, we are taking 2025 as x for 5 again. And by that we find the value to be 7.992, which is almost 7.9 or 7 or 8 you can see. And the inference we get is that India will be lending at a rate of 7.9992 by the year 2025. That is, India will decrease its lending rate, since it was 9.51 in 2017, but it will be 7.9 in 2025. So that is a steep decrease. And that's it for the presentation. I'll be saying about what we learned in this presentation. First off, we learned about the role and responsibility of the IMF. That is, it maintains a global stability. It helps the countries that needs adapt, and it also helps the countries get out of inflation and helps them in economic helps their economic requirements. It also provides loan, technical assistance. It guides them to make policies so that they can make their economy a better, far better than that is. It also supports capacity development and global cooperation, since it has 190 countries as a part profit by the year 2024. We also learned about the different trend lines, and uh, we also tried to forecast and predict some values that India as a country shows at the international market. We saw a downward trend in the balance of payment where GDP by percent was taken as an indicator. We also saw a downward fall from the interest rates, like the money market rate and the lending rate, where the balance of payment it dropped from 18.7 to 17.05 in the course of 4 years, and the lending rate it dropped to 7.9, and the market rate dropped to 1.45 by the year 2020. These are the forecasted values that we got based on the data tables that are provided. Now that is it for our presentation. Thank you.